Amir Khan's former trainer, Freddie Roach, believes that Khan has a lot of ability, boxing skill, athleticism, speed, etc., but his bad habits, quote unquote, will lead him to suffer yet another knockout defeat, this time at the hands of Terence Crawford on Saturday. Now, most people are going along with that. Most people believe that Khan might have some success early on, as he usually does in these big fights, but he will eventually be figured out and taken out. Now, what is the problem with Amir Khan, other than his chin? Okay, we all know that his chin is suspect. There are other fighters throughout the course of history who have had a shaky chin, but some of them didn't seem as vulnerable as Khan, okay, for various different reasons. One of the problems with Amir Khan is that despite having Olympic pedigree and, nice technique and all that kind of stuff, at least offensive technique to some extent, he throws his punches with good form. He's not someone you look at and he's throwing the punches wrong. No, his defensive technique leaves a lot to be desired. But in terms of his punching and his foot movement, etc., it's, decent technique there. The problem with Khan, I've always said, or one of the problems, is that he doesn't have a good boxing brain. His boxing IQ is not very high. Khan is an impulsive person, both in the ring and out of the ring. And it gets him in trouble, both in the ring and out of the ring. We've seen that, okay? His personal life issues have been well documented. That's the impulsive nature of him. In the ring, it's got him knocked out. It's got him clipped. It's got him dropped in situations where he really shouldn't have been dropped. He gets overexcited. He acts on impulse. He goes flying in without thinking. He loses his head. This is typical Amir Khan. This is why it's so exciting to watch, because he does have that athleticism that can catch opponents off guard early in fights, can overwhelm opponents early in fights. We've seen that. We saw that against Lamont Peterson, right? Early in the fight, Peterson was on the canvas. Early in the fight, Maidana was on the canvas. Early in the fight, Danny Garcia didn't know whether he was in the ring with one guy or five guys, the amount of times he was getting hit in the first couple rounds. But once the opponent starts noticing Khan's patterns and gets used to the speed, then they see that he's actually quite predictable. Then they see it's actually quite easy to bait him in and get him to make mistakes. Then they see that if they want to go forward and apply pressure, Khan is actually not that physically strong, whereby it's quite easy to bully him. But specifically with regards to Khan's boxing IQ, it's not just his former trainer, Freddie Roach, who has alluded to that, because he said Khan has bad habits. Now, if you've got a good boxing IQ, you should be able to understand you've got those bad habits and make adjustments. But Roach clearly believes that Khan is not going to make adjustments and those bad habits are going to remain and they're going to get him knocked out. Now, specifically Virgil Hunter, his current trainer, and to be fair, Freddie Roach was not known as a trainer who teaches defense particularly well, okay? When Khan was with Roach, I think, enhanced Khan's offensive prowess, but didn't really do much for his defense, okay? And I don't think he really held Khan's hand every step of the way from a tactical game plan point of view, the way that Khan needed. Because that's really what Khan needs. He needs somebody to hold his hand, a trainer, every step of the way, be shouting instructions from ringside, taking it round by round, doing it like that. Because you can't let this guy do things by himself, because he's far too impulsive for that. He'll get himself in trouble. His current trainer, Virgil Hunter, he's just, joined back with Virgil Hunter after being with Joe Goosen for a couple fights, because Virgil Hunter was ill and what have you. And actually, Virgil Hunter talks about it in this interview. He nearly lost his life due to that illness. Very, very interesting story that Virgil Hunter tells. But Hunter himself talks about Amir Khan's boxing IQ, and he says it's improving. The implication being his boxing IQ is not that high, because how old is Amir Khan? In his early 30s now? And he's talking about his boxing IQ is improving. If you're going to get to your early 30s and your boxing IQ is not already good when you're an elite fighter, and remember, Khan's a boxer puncher, this guy's not a slugger. So for your boxing IQ, for your trainer to be saying, it's improving. What does that tell you? That tells you his boxing IQ is not very high. Yeah, he's not a guy who you can leave by himself. You have to hold his hand every step of the way, which is what Virgil Hunter, by the way, says that he does for Amir Khan in this interview. He says that he needs structure. He needs someone to be there with him every step of the way at ringside, shouting instructions, telling him what to do every second, every minute of every round. That's what Khan needs. And that's why Virgil Hunter, in my view, is the best trainer for Khan. Virgil Hunter has that kind of father figure type personality, you know? And I think he also has a calming presence on Amir Khan, Virgil Hunter, because Virgil Hunter is a very calm, you know, measured kind of person. And I think Khan needs that. Now, if you look at Khan's performances under Virgil Hunter, there have been some shaky performances and some good performances. And that's to be expected when you join a new trainer. There's going to be a transitional period where you're adjusting to what the new trainer is teaching you and what have you. And Khan, I think, is good at taking instructions. He's not good at figuring things out for himself. But when it comes to taking instructions from someone who can instruct him the right way, I think he's good. And the reason I say that is because even in the brief time that Amir Khan spent with Joe Goosen, I could see the Joe Goosen style in Amir Khan. Do you understand? So he does listen in the gym to what the trainers are telling him and the technique to use and all that kind of stuff. I could see the Goosen style in Khan, because I remember Joe Goosen as a trainer for many, many years, you know, going back into the 1990s. I could see the Goosen style in Khan after just, you know, 2 fights, certainly in the second fight with Goosen. I could see the Goosen style there. So he picks these things up quick. But that's a more offensive style, the Joe Goosen style, so that comes more naturally to Khan. But whereas with Virgil Hunter, it's more defensive. So I think it took a little longer for Khan to adjust to the defensive, disciplined style of Virgil Hunter. But like I say, he had some disappointing performances. Like, for example, the Diaz performance was a very shaky performance for Khan. The Molina performance, I wasn't impressed with. But was he still with Freddie Roach for Molina? I can't remember now. But anyway, the Diaz performance was not impressive as far as I'm concerned. The Algieri performance was not impressive. But then he had 2 impressive performances against Collazo and also against Devon Alexander. Now, how much credit can Virgil Hunter really get for those 2 performances, bearing in mind that Amir Khan has always done well against southpaws? If you look at his career, he's always done well. For some weird reason, Khan seems to handle southpaws better than orthodox fighters just naturally. You know, you go look at when he fought Zab Judah. I mean, even go back to the amateurs when he fought Mario Kindelan twice, who was the world #1 at the time when Khan fought him in the Olympics. So Khan just has a natural knack for dealing with southpaws. When it comes to orthodox fighters, the angles just don't line up as well for Khan. The left hook of an orthodox fighter is obviously closer to your head, and Khan gets blindsided by that left hook all the time. All right, he just doesn't see it coming. But with a southpaw, their left hand is further away from you, right? Because their right shoulder is closer to you than their left shoulder. So he can see the southpaw left coming a lot easier than he can see an orthodox left hook. And there are other reasons why Khan finds it easier dealing with southpaws than orthodox, but, you know, I don't want to get bogged down in that. Point being, he's had a natural knack for dealing with southpaws before he was with Hunter. But I do want to give Hunter credit. I do think he deserves credit for those 2 wins to a large degree, because even though Khan has always found it easier fighting southpaws than orthodox, I could still see the Virgil Hunter structure in both of those fights. Khan boxed a very disciplined fight. He never really went for the knockout in either fight. Against Louis Collazo, he dropped Collazo several times, but he never let that go to his head. He never rushed in and, you know, tried to go for it. There was a couple times when he stood and put his earmuffs on, you know, when he stands in the middle of the ring and he puts his hands up and he starts exchanging. Virgil Hunter admonished him in the corner and said, don't do that. Do not do that. Do not put your earmuffs on and stand there and trade. Do not do that. Keep it moving. Keep your structure, etc. You know, Khan, again, that's the impulsiveness of him coming out. And that structure was there in the Collazo fight and the Devon Alexander fight. against Zab Judah years ago, another southpaw, the structure wasn't there. So even though he beat Judah and beat the brakes off him, that was, Khan's natural offensive instincts combined with his, natural aptitude for fighting southpaws coming to fruition. But you didn't really see that much defensive discipline in the Judah fight. Khan went for it, and he was successful. You can't knock him for that performance, but the vulnerabilities were still there in the Judah fight. Yeah, he was still vulnerable, but Judah was even more vulnerable to what Khan was doing than Khan was vulnerable to what Judah was doing, evidently. But in the Collazo and the Alexander fight, under the tutelage of Virgil Hunter, they closed down all those vulnerabilities in Khan defensively. And they got him to fight, or Hunter got him to fight a very disciplined, structured, organized fight. Even Khan's movement, look at his movement in the Alexander fight and the Collazo fight. Khan wasn't running around the ring. It was steady. The way he was moving around was very, very steady, very, very structured, very Andre Ward-like, actually. Okay? That you have to give Virgil Hunter credit for. Now, as far as this fight on the weekend against Terence Crawford, Crawford usually fights as a southpaw. Sometimes he switches orthodox, but more often than not, he finds himself in a southpaw position and he prefers to stay that way. Will Terence Crawford have done his homework on Amir Khan as far as understanding that Khan does well against southpaws? Because if he's done his homework, he may want to go orthodox for the majority of this fight. That's where Khan tends to have the most trouble. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if at some stage in this fight, Terence Crawford actually has to become a pressure fighter. Because if Khan is boxing to the very, very best of his ability and he's staying disciplined and in a strict game plan, I can see Terence Crawford having some issues here. I could see it. And the solution to that might be to pressure Amir Khan, walk him down, try and draw him into a dogfight and get to that chin. Because even though Terence Crawford is coming up in weight, so is Chris Algieri. And Chris Algieri was able to take the fight to Amir Khan and actually bully Khan. Lamont Peterson was able to take the fight to Khan and bully Khan. If those guys can bully Amir Khan, I think Terence Crawford's going to be able to bully him too. If that's called for, okay? And I'm not saying it's definitely going to go down like that. I'm just saying that given Khan's speed and the fact he's back with Virgil Hunter, I wouldn't be surprised if Crawford needs to take the fight by the scruff of the neck like that, and forget about the boxing match with Khan. Let's turn this into a slugfest. But interestingly, Virgil Hunter kind of alluded to rumors about Terence Crawford's punch resistance in this interview right here. There's been rumors about Crawford's punch resistance for years. I've talked about them before on this channel. There was a rumor that Terence Crawford once had a street fight with Gary Russell Jr. of all people. Gary Russell Jr. is what, a featherweight? Something like that? Featherweight, super featherweight? He had a street fight with Gary Russell Jr. back in the days and got battered in this street fight. Like he was out on his feet, apparently, against Gary Russell Jr. in a street fight back in the days. He was wobbled by Yuriorkis Gamboa earlier on in his career. And Virgil Hunter is also saying that there are stories coming out of the gyms that Terence Crawford is vulnerable to headshots and body shots, that his resistance is not that great. Now, to be fair, since the little scare that he had against Yuriorkis Gamboa, I haven't seen any vulnerability in Terence Crawford since then. So perhaps the vulnerability was linked to making weight to some extent, weakening him. Then again, maybe it's just Terence Crawford has managed to successfully avoid being clipped with a decent shot since then. At the end of the day, Yuriorkis Gamboa, even though he's a small guy, he was extremely fast and very, very talented. So maybe it's just a case of nobody's managed to clip Terence Crawford with the right shot since then, and therefore we've got the illusion that Crawford all of a sudden has improved punch resistance. So that's something Virgil Hunter did raise, is Crawford's punch resistance is in question here. And, you know, I highly recommend this interview, by the way. It's on the BT Sport Boxing channel on YouTube. Hunter says a lot of insightful things. He also talks about Amir Khan outside the ring. This is something he's talked about before, Virgil Hunter, when he was training Khan first time around. He talked about Khan being a great student while he's in the gym. He said, I don't know what he does outside of the gym. And that kind of, again, insinuates that Khan doesn't live the best life outside the gym. But he says in the gym, he's a great student. Outside the gym, And I sense some frustration there with Virgil Hunter when it comes to Amir Khan. I think it was for the Devon Alexander fight. Virgil Hunter said that he had Khan for several months leading up to that fight. So he basically had him prior to training camp and then going into training camp. He was under Virgil Hunter's watchful eye, under his mentorship. And that, to most people, was Amir Khan's best ever career performance against Devon Alexander. And Hunter was happy about that. Will he have Amir Khan? Has he had Amir Khan for as long for this camp as he has for previous camps? I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see how the fight plays out. You know, Khan, definitely chinny, definitely impulsive, definitely defensively reckless, but he does have talent there. He did beat Marcus Maidana, a prime Maidana at that. He did drop him. He does have some nice wins on his resume. You know, not elite level fighters, but world champions and former world champions. You know, Devon Alexander, that's a good win. You know, Paulie Malignaggi was past it, but he did beat him. Kotelnik was a solid fighter. Beat him. Marcus Maidana, that's a great win. In fact, what am I talking about? The Maidana win, to most people, will be considered a better win than Devon Alexander. But then again, Devon Alexander did beat the brakes off Marcus Maidana. So you take your pick. It's either Maidana or Alexander, which will go down as Khan's best win. But they're both good wins. So he has talent. He has ability. We all know this. But his vulnerabilities at top level, at elite level, have seen him fall short. You know, we remember Danny Garcia. Canelo, obviously, but, you know, that was way up in weight, way above where he should have been fighting. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this Amir Khan, Terence Crawford fight. Terence Crawford, Amir Khan, taking place this Saturday. Do you think Khan's got a chance? Do you think maybe that Terence Crawford's underestimating Khan? Is he a bit arrogant? Because Crawford's been coming out saying, I'm the number one in the world, pound for pound, hands down, and I don't get the credit I deserve and all this kind of business. I mean, whether or not you think he's well within his rights to say what he's saying, is he underestimating Khan here? Are we about to see a monumental upset? You know, to me, this wouldn't be one of the greatest upsets I've ever seen, Khan against Crawford, because Khan has got ability. We all know this. He is fast. Do you know what I mean? He's got as long arms as Crawford has got. He's quicker than Crawford. He's got experience. He's been in there with very, very good fighters. You know, like, it wouldn't be a monumental shock, at least not to me, if Khan pulled off an upset. I've seen stranger things happen in boxing than Khan beating a Terence Crawford. Would it still be an upset? Of course it would be. Am I picking Amir Khan? No, I'm not. But I wouldn't be monumentally shocked if Khan did it. And I'd actually find it hilarious. I'd find it hilarious if Khan won. I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining fight. Regardless who wins, because Khan is always in entertaining fights. And to be fair, Terence Crawford is usually in entertaining fights too. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. It's happening about. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, There's no contract and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.